we got Winter Ahead with HYO SHIN. And I looked on the channel. I don't have any reference for them, so I know nothing. Okay? Shall we? Now you do hear that sound, right? You hear the music. I want to make sure before I kick this off and I can focus, everything's good. He and Tay are great friends. Yes, music's good. All right, let's do it. Oh, this is long. Winter Ahead. Ooh, interesting. I have so many questions already. Shh. Huh? I didn't expect that.
Lie with me by the fire. We can be safe from the storms apart. There's a winter ahead. If it's cold and wet, we're always warm here side by side. Come with me, change of heart, who can say? If you look in my eyes, for the moon and the stars, hearing strumming guitars, where I am meant that it be nice. I'll be with you until the spring runs by and the summer starts to burn. I'll be with you when the autumn rain returns. Don't you wanna say you'll stay? Lie with me by the fire. We can be safe from the storms up high. There's a winter ahead, weather is cold and wet. We're always warm in paradise, paradise. I'll be with you until the spring runs by and the summer starts to burn. And I'll be with you when the time returns. Yes, when all the seasons turn. Come on, me, change your heart, who can say? If you look in my eyes, for the truth in my heart,
Well, you magnificent bastard. Oh, man, we need to get to the bottom of this. Oh, boy. Ooh. Wow, there's a lot to digest here. Oh. Who was the guy in black at the end? That was V. That was another V. It was alternate V. So, let's discuss, shall we? Cheers. Happy Friday. Oh, what a way to start this night. Oh. Okay. Let's just kind of ease through it, shall we? I hope you're not in a rush for the next one, whatever it may be, because it's going to be a minute. My first thought with this shot was, that's not his hand. Did anybody else get Black Swan vibes from this theater? Maybe just me. I also think it's significant here that we see Tay in the seats in this area where the spotlight is on. Specifically right here, we also get kind of a master shot of him in that light. But watch what happens. When we put him on the stage, that spotlight is still on that spot. That is not an accident. So there is something here symbolically that they are trying to tell us. It could be referencing, let's just say, V number 1 and V number 2, for the sake of ease, because we kind of have to take the scenic route here to put all the pieces together, at least in a logical fashion, right? So it's either V1 and V2, it could be based on memories, or it could be V and somebody else. It could be a representation of somebody else. Yeah, it could be actually Tay and V. And then the discussion of the persona and the ego and the id and the superego. Like, we could go any different way. This video felt very BU to me. Now, I'm not saying it's BU related. I'm saying it had that feeling of an onion. There are many layers here that I think are trying to demonstrate something very, very significant. Now, this is a really interesting shot. We see him back in the spotlighted seats. The spotlight is also on the stage. So this could be referencing the Tay and the V. Almost like it could be that he's trying to see himself from the perspective of the audience member. Now, you can call that army, you can call it critics, you can call it could be Tay and V. I'm going to throw out all kinds of stuff, just so you know. Yeah, it could also be like Ashley says, it's a show for him to watch. Almost like I've told you before in my past lives, like sometimes I just felt like I was the character that everybody was supposed to watch. And that was it. I was just the entertainment for the moment, and then that's all that mattered. Maybe there's a moment here that he's reflecting upon. Maybe. Now, the birthday candles can show passage of time. It can show wishes and dreams and aspirations. Oh. Okay. We have a record scratch over the sound, which is so V. This, I think it's a saxophone. I don't know. Some of you are like, it's an air horn. I don't know. It sounds like a sax. It's a saxophone. It's V. Let's call it what it is. But I also pick up on not just that very vintage vibe, but you hear somebody else in the house. It's a trumpet? Of course it is. That's a trumpet? That's so a saxophone. I don't know.
Lie with me by the fire. We can be safe from the storms apart.
His voice is interstellar. I'm trying to just like pull words that are strong enough. Like amazing isn't enough. Fantastic isn't enough. It just, his voice is an emotion.
Safe from the storms apart. There's a winter ahead. If it's cold and wet, we're always warm here side by side. Come with me.
Now, the first external reaction I had that I remember doing was this part right here. The reason you would never guess in a million years. When HYO comes in, the voice reminds me and has a similar timbre and inflection to Ewan McGregor. Not Ewan McGregor train spotting, let's be careful. Ewan McGregor, Moulin Rouge. And then when he said, Come What May, which is a song from the soundtrack of Moulin Rouge, I went, ah, oh my God. Because Come What May is one of the more beautiful songs on that soundtrack. Nicole Kidman, Ewan McGregor, fantastic. So when I heard the voice and I read this line, my head exploded. I just wanted to clarify that. I think whoever put this sculpture together of this young lady is very talented.
Change of heart, who can say? If you look in my eyes, for the moon and the stars, hearing strumming guitars, where I am.
See, there's such an interesting contrast between these shots here, where it's him and his work. But his work is very centered around this woman. But then we also have these shots on the other side of that coin where it's just him, but it's not just him. His energy is still moving towards somebody else. Now, whether that's from the past, whether it's memories, or even the fantasy of somebody else, there's a cross reference here somehow.
Eyes for the moon and the stars, hearing strumming guitars, where I am meant that it be nice.
Now that is the first close-up that we really get. Now this could be an X. Some could argue it's a butterfly. Some could argue it's wings. Some could argue it's just a mark that we reference later to show that this mark is now on V. It's a V. It could also be a V. Yes, very good. It also looks like a butterfly, not a booty fly. It also looks like an X.
I'll be with you until the spring runs by.
Ah, is this the reveal? It is.
With you.
Now, this shot being right before that clip screams waiting.
Until the spring runs by.
Was that a cut? It was. Why did they do that? Oh, okay, just change of angle. Here's scene 1. Scene 2. Interesting. Why would they do that? Huh. Interesting. Does anything change on V?
Be with you.
Okay, let's look at his shirt, his pants. His position on the couch is a little bit different. Let's look at the scene.
Until the spring runs by.
Okay, it looks to be the same scene, the same V. Nothing's changed. They're not showing a passage of time. I don't think they're hiding anything, but it could be something.
And the summer starts to burn.
Is it real? That's a good question.
I'll be with you.
This is so interesting. Wow. That is so friggin' good. And to go from this grayish tone to this golden scene, oh.
When the autumn rain returns, don't you wanna say you'll stay? Lie with me by the fire. We can be safe from the storms up high.
See, this scene goes back to where he's eating what I assume is popcorn and dancing around like they're dancing in the room.
From the storms up high, there's a winter ahead, weather is cold out.
And that scene could be on the stairs,
There's a winter ahead.
could be referencing that one early shot that we see by himself sitting on the couch, and he takes, I think, popcorn, and he goes to throw it. Cutting back to this. So we're cross-referencing him by himself and then him with her. Got it. There's a winter ahead. Okay.
Weather is cold and wet. We are warm in paradise. Paradise.
Now that sounds like a trumpet. What a great shot. Oh, Tay Bear, stop! Oh, is that? Is this France? Yes. Okay, I think there's a lot of story happening in these shots. First of all, let me back up. I want to see that spin on the stage. Well, my man can move, can't he? Ah! Butterfly, butterfly, butterfly! Ah, butterfly! That just seemed important. But was it just the butterfly? So I've got some flowers there. But we have the butterfly. Okay, and because we get a pre-shot to the butterfly, we have this main shot with him focusing on the butterfly. This becomes significant. Oh, look at that. Now, here's where it starts to get a little faster and a little more chaotic. So they're going to start to put pieces of the puzzle in these shots. We have almost, it's not a reverse of the previous shot, but it's not her. I'm assuming it's her, but I don't know. It's not the hand pulling the clay away like we saw on the sculpture earlier. It's almost like a reverse, but it's not. It's more gentle. This feels like a nightmare. The hand comes away as opposed to the caressing that he was doing earlier. And now there's conflict. There's tension here. She's by herself. We get some kind of strong emotion here. We have the introduction of the red. Right there. Now we do get glimpses of this red coloring earlier, but this is where it starts to pick up. Okay, that shows not concern, but like tension. There's pain. There's a negative emotion here. Here, recollection, trying to figure things out, and then boom, we get some kind of, I don't know if it's anger, frustration. She's by herself, broken. Nightmare again, glass of water. I think this is interesting too because we're seeing the same thing on him and the sculpture, and then later we get the black tears, right? So now we've shifted from that golden feel to this very cold scene again.
Till the spring runs by
We get the rain.
and the summer stars to burn, and I'll be with you when the time returns. Yes, when
I'm gonna throw a theory out there.
be with you when the time
Did he love her to hard. Are we seeing the scenes with them and then the scenes that happen with him by himself in the beginning could lead us to believe that it's happening before the relationship took place. But I think what we're seeing is those are actually taking place afterwards, because he's reminiscing, he's remembering, he's going through the things in his brain that could have potentially led to the breaking of that relationship. And the sculpture can represent him pouring himself into her. And this way, it almost feels like I don't want to say he's marking her, but like it shows an impact. It shows some type of permanent mark that people can have on each other in some way. Maybe he accidentally created Dark V. Interesting. All the sculptures have the mark. Really? Okay. So we do have all these different ones. Okay. So let's see if any of the faces match the faces that we saw on the sculptures. Change of heart, who can say, if you look in my eye. This is really interesting. For the truth in my heart, from a world far apart, you realize where you can find paradise. I have a question, and I could be way out in left field, but I'm going to throw it out there. Does anybody know when this song was written? I'm sure I could find it out if I Googled it. That defeats the purpose of you being here at all. Does anybody know? 2 years ago or more? At least 2 years. At least 2 yeets. Got it. It was recorded like 2 years ago. Really? Okay. Okay, so it was before he left for the military. Was it after the Festa dinner? Does anybody know? Do we have an actual date? Because I have a loose theory. We don't know. Okay. Regardless, here's my theory. I think there's a lot of layers to this, but I'm also kind of assuming that he is one of the writers of the song. Director, production. Oh, Paris. Thank you, caterers. He is listed as a writer on the song, yes. Okay, thank you. I could be projecting a bit here, but the more I listen to the words, I see the layers of the video. From what I understand about who I think Tay is, this song feels like anticipated loneliness. It feels romantic. Yes, it has a romantic sound, but the visuals feel like anticipated, sorry, not anticipated, anticipatory loneliness. The reason I asked about the Festa dinner was because when that announcement was made and they knew eventually they were going to go into the military, they were going to like part ways in their own way, right? And then come back for whatever. Like we couldn't even think about what was going to happen then. We were all in the moment of they're leaving, they're going to the military. For these 7 guys to take that journey, to go from as close as they are, doing everything that they have done, and then all of a sudden, you have to like reframe everything you know and try to emotionally and mentally and physically prepare for an entirely different journey. And you have to do it on some level, you think, without your closest people. I wonder if there's some level of these visuals that are expressing that. The reason I say that is because, yes, like we have her, we have, like, if we take all the pieces that make this up, we have before, we have after, we have the relationship itself. We have a very severe investment into the relationship. But we also have these moments where, like, we have this massive scene of people, all this love, this social bonding.
Change of heart, who can
But you kind of know that it's going to be short-lived.
say if you look in my eyes?
It's like reality sets in and you kind of get reminded of like, this is not always going to be here.
For the truth in my heart, from a world far apart, you realize where you can find paradise. Paradise.
Now, this ending here of the scene, of the party scene, it's just him, right? So now we get the other V coming in. Okay. Okay, so yeah, okay, so the black is, it's not tears, it's coming from his head. Ah, that's, what is that? So it's just a flash, okay. Okay, the sketches in the back. Don't seem too significant as far as I can tell. This is some kind of a reveal. It's him. Ah. This is a shatter. This is a break. This is a break in reality. It's a break in a perception of himself. There's something that's breaking apart here. There's a lifelessness. Something about these sculptures represents a lifelessness. And I think that's why we go from this, we go from like complete V, okay, before these flashes of her. Complete V, there's a little bit of anger, there's some strong emotion. The red, the flashes, she's gone. He's broken. Lifelessness. Dark V. I feel like those frames just told a huge section of this story. Now, I do have to say, I don't necessarily know if I can say that it really represents a relationship with a person, like with a woman, with somebody else. Like, I don't think it's necessarily saying that. I think it's just symbolic of a relationship. There's a relationship before, the during, and now the after. And something about this transformation or transition is what they're trying to show. But it does feel like there's a bend between fantasy and reality, and how a person can change through that transition. Now, this is huge. There's a realization that happens here. It's not just the mere bravo of him acting like he does. Like, I gave him massive, massive acting props in Love Wins All. That was spectacular. But to me, there's a realization here where there's a moment of like, I don't want to say like it's going to be okay. It's not Full House, but there is like an acceptance in some way, and almost like and then a slight shift towards understanding and then moving forward. See, you notice the smirk. I know you noticed the smirk. Right there. That is the subtle acting chops needed to represent the, okay, got it. Now I want to see where they end it. Ah! Interesting. This shirt says something. It says a lot of things if you put the light on it just right. But I am starting to lean into some of the notion that the persona is involved here. This is a very glamorous shirt. This is a shirt that screams idol. But the entire background is natural. It's nature. Like, it's getting colder. Night is falling. His body position in this shot and looking back at us almost feels like it's the artist that is V is about to turn around and walk in that direction and find out who he really is. That is a hell of a leap. But to me, it makes perfect sense, especially when combined with all of the other symbolism that we saw. Think about the butterfly. The butterfly itself is a representation of a transformation where you go from a cocoon or a caterpillar through the cocoon process and then into the butterfly. I think this is really magnificent. Even if I'm completely full of shit. This video is beautiful. It's so well done. Like, yeah, I have my theories. But the song is the song. I love this. I love the jazz feel. You know me. I want the smoky bar. I want to sit there with my little and I just want to be fancy for a minute. I don't want people to know that I dress like Sailor Moon sometimes and I wear red high heels. That's for us. But sometimes I like to sit back and throw my hawk of a leg over the other hawk and sit there and listen to music like this. It has been said that V had a hard time between V and Tay, who they are, who he is. I would believe that. And I think that's something we've seen of a lot of the guys, if not all the guys at some point. And not just BTS, but also idols in general. That, and not even just idols, but like celebrities, where, you know, the idea of the persona is it's a protective model. The more you expose your true self to the public, the more you yourself are vulnerable to those critics, to those attacks. So by having a V can take the attacks. They're not actually attacking Tay, right? They can attack RM, but they can't hurt Namjoon. Man, I think this is so interesting. And I also think, like, if I'm being entirely, like, 100% honest, I do think that part of my theory here, based on the timing of it, with the military and everything, part of that is probably my own projection, right? Because I know how I felt when I was in the military. I know how lonely I was. I know what it's like to be in this absolutely effing miserable situation, and the only thing keeping you sane is what is in your brain, right? So just knowing that you have somebody else out there, even if they're tens of thousands of miles away, somebody is thinking of you. Somebody cares about you. It kind of gives you an emotional and mental outlet to invest in when the rest of your whole being cannot do that. So, admittedly, part of my theory could be projection. I get it. But I have to assume on some level that these guys that have had a very specific life up to this point, when they make the announcement they're going into the military, which is a very strong contrast to their former lives, there's going to be some level of introspection and fear there. It makes perfect sense to me. So this is Lex's theory. In Friends, he dies when he got hit by the car. Now he's stuck in limbo, unaware that he died. He lives in the past, but is beginning to realize something is wrong. When he sees the dark V, he now understands and chooses to leave that limbo and move on. Wow, that's pretty deep, Lex. That is a pretty solid theory. Maybe they're two sculpture V that represents his two personas, and the real V trying to figure them out. Wow. My daughter does not like to be the center of attention, but on stage she has no issue as it's a character and not her. Makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. In Layover, he's a sculpture too, and in Friends, he also faces himself. Oh, he's a sculptor, that's right, because he's doing the bread, yeah. Huh. So you think, hey, Steph, you think he's dead in this whole video. Interesting.